Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of For the Most Part podcast. I'm kind of excited about this episode. Because for about 2 or 3 weeks we've been having, as we said in the samples episode, we've been having discussions with friends, with friends and family about samples, right? So I want to firstly introduce to my right hand side Miss Louise Clark, a resident writer, and today she'll just be stepping in as our co-host, and our guest, musical theater aficionado. I don't know if that's the right words to say. Miss Cherysh La Touche, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Hi. Hey guys.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
I'm excited about this because we three queens, I almost say we three kings. We three queens we've been having conversations with each other about sampling.
Yes.
And Louise and I, we would have talked sampling in music in general, but this time we want to talk about sampling in musical theater, and the best way to do that is to include somebody who is
From the field.
right in there.
Yes.
Right in there. So Cherysh, I want to ask if you can just tell the listeners a little bit about your background and how you got into musical theater and performing arts, and then we'll get into the list of samples that we have.
Okay, great. Well, I am hailing from Trinidad and Tobago, but right now I am in Belize. But just to backtrack, I started singing when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and it followed it into primary school, straight into Standard 5, and Standard 5 I ended up taking part in music festival. I won awards for that, and then secondary school I started to get a little more invested in steel pan, because if you go through the music room in secondary school, is either steel pan or recorder. Definitely. Yes. One of those two you will definitely touch. So I played pan for the 5-year period that I was in school, and coming down to the end of it, I was going toward medicine.
Wow.
Like, I'll be honest, I was going into pediatric medicine first, because at that time I wasn't really considering like music on the whole, like performing arts on the whole. It was always a hobby, something that I was good at. But when I was finishing CXC, they didn't have one of the subjects that I wanted to do as a Cambridge subject. They have it now, human and social biology. I think they have it as a Cambridge subject now. So I was, but at that time they didn't. So I was like, okay, well maybe I should just go to UE and do music. So I dropped everything medicine, and I went home, and I told my mom, I was like, okay, Mom, I think I'll go in to do music, and I'm gonna dive in and do an audition for you. And she was like, you sure? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay.
Yes.
And I have to say, thank God that I had a parent that was full-fledged yes, because not many people could say that they had that experience with their parental unit, whoever that may be. So when I went through that audition process, I started UE certificate. I did pan for those 2 years, and then I started to care about UE Chorale and Mr. Murray, and who Mr. Murray is, and everybody afraid of Mr. Murray, and all that good stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe I should try singing, because I didn't do anything that extreme where singing is concerned, because I went straight into the steel pan category of it, right? So when I was going into degree, I decided to switch to voice. So when I did that, I guess you could say that I was one of those that, because Mr. Murray was my voice teacher, and I could say that I was one of those that did the classical, but my teacher realized that my voice was a little bit rough. Not rough as in no kind of grace, but rough as in could do the heavy songs, like the belt and stuff. Okay, so my repertoire was always classical for the technical stuff, and then I would do like a Broadway piece or a jazz standard. And I started to get a little bit more acquainted with musical theater with Muscomsey Productions in UWI. So my first real legit
Yes.
production was Beauty and the Beast in 2009,
Yes.
I think.
But
Yeah.
but you need to
But
talk
I-
about
I-
something much bigger than that.
Yeah.
I just
Okay, I get in there.
Let the girls talk.
I get in there.
Let
I'm
her
getting
talk,
there.
yes.
So the first production that I did was Beauty and the Beast, but the first production where I had a
Yes.
lead was
I'll put you off air, you know.
what Louise is getting very ecstatic about, because I had leads before, but my major lead was when I was Maria for West Side Story in 2019.
18.
It's 2019.
18.
Louise,
I
am I
believe it
correct?
was 18.
Okay, wow. All that time.
it wasn't the year
all that
before
time
COVID. I think it
flew
was
already.
18. 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Yes, because 2019 was Carrie Festa. That makes sense. Okay. So, apart from the productions that I had in Muscomsey, I was able to take part in a lot of other production companies' productions. I was in the Trinidad adaptation of Cinderella. Played Fairy Godmother. I was involved in some Tree Canal productions over a short space of a carnival period. Like I've done dance, I've done a lot of acting to the point where I was able to be accepted into the National Theatre Arts Company of Trinidad and Tobago. I was there for 2 years. And that's when I got the job offer to come where I am now in Belize to more or less like help them push their performing arts sector, because right now it's really not not where it should be.
Right.
They're very behind where foundations of culture should be for Caribbean islands or Caribbean countries rather. They have a little bit more push to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what we're working on
Nice,
right now.
nice.
But I've been able to work with a lot of directors, and I was able to accept a lot of mentors in my life and learn from a lot of people, because I didn't come from silver spoon
Yeah.
lifestyle. So a lot of the knowledge that I have now, if it wasn't from university, I would take part in every single free course, free workshop, free anything that anybody having. I used to take advantage of everything and make sure that it would.
It'll count to
Add.
something. Yeah.
And when I don't understand something, I'll ask a question. Like, so that is basically how my rapport of performing.
So,
went
Ollie, I
for me.
hope Ollie are hearing everything that has come out of Cherish's mouth, because I don't bring on guests just for kicks and giggles, because I didn't want to say the word that does normally come before giggles. But my point is this: we have somebody here who has been in musical theater for some time.
Yes, and is fully aware of the repertoire,
Yes.
which is why we've brought on for today's session.
So I want to just recap on the definition that we pulled for the samples episode. And the definition from Wikipedia, although as I say, don't judge me for using the Wikipedia definition.
Yes, and as I said in the first samples episode, it is an accurate description.
Yes.
It's an accurate description, and yeah, so that's why we used it.
Right.
It's accurate.
Right. So it says, in music, sampling is the act of taking a portion or sample of one sound recording and reusing it as an instrument or element of a new recording. And so Louise would have given the example of utilizing melodies and taking the melody, just the melody, not necessarily the chords or anything, but taking the melody and you're putting it onto a new recording.
Yes, even if you may use the same lyrics or you may change the lyrics, yes, that counts as sampling.
So there's a reason why I reproposed that definition, It's because if all you know this song, If I Were a Rich Girl. Cherysh, tell us what musical that is from?
If I Was a Rich Girl is adaptation of If I Was a Rich Man from Fiddler on the Roof.
Right. I think for the people who don't know the song, I just go on.
Yeah, we have a whole generation of children might not know what that song is. For the Gen Zs that might be listening, play it for their so that they will know what we're talking about.
It in post because we're not sure if we have the rights to the original, so we'll have to fiddle something.
Yes,
fiddle
or create a MIDI.
Fiddle something for Fiddle on the
We
Roof.
have to fiddle on.
Or create something from scratch.
Yeah.
Something happen.
I'm curious. Was it because the song was a sample, in terms of the musical theater? Well, okay, let's flip that around. So, would you say because If I Were a Rich Girl was popular, is it because the musical was also popular?
Oh yeah, definitely. Fiddler on the Roof, it was one of those musicals that I would like to think what on the list
Staples?
of staples, as well as it the musicals that kind of delved into real culture. I think hold very high esteem. So Fiddler on the Roof was dealing with the Jews and was it the Germans?
Yes.
The Germans?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that when they use a lot of those styles that they would have around that time, those that kind of not atonal but very dissonant. I don't know if I could use that. You would hear that from a lot of the composers of that time. So a lot of that music was put into the musical. But I think I would like to think that when Gwen Stefani was doing her song, maybe they were looking for something with a kind of a catchy hook, something that you will hold on to. Like it will click in your head and you'll latch onto it. You will find yourself singing it just because it's easy
we were
hold
saying
on
that
to.
on the last samples episode, because it have no way that cameo just good just so it catchy because the bass line was punchy.
Dum dum dum.
I don't have the sample on here, so
Dum dum
dun 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 dun, right?
dum.
So I want to pull our next one, right? So earlier we know the Hard Knock Life and Uncle Jay-Z. I don't want to call him uncle, but he's uncle now, right? It's a hard knock life for us. Da, 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 da. Right? See the two musicians, and I'm sure Cherysh could tell us what musical that from too.
Yeah.
You
Annie?
see? So maybe I just want to ask, maybe is it that sampling is just easier? What do you think, Cherysh?
I mean, for the sake of the person building the track, it would be easier, because just to use Hard Knock Life as an example, I personally don't think that he was going to use that until the beat that dun dun dun, that piano in the background. I think that is probably what made it sound like that sample, and they decided to use it. Because that same piano that I'm talking about in the beginning, is that where the sample starts, or is that just a loop of the same chord and then it starts at the chorus?
Right.
So I don't know. I think in some cases it depends on how they build the track.
Right.
And sometimes things just end up sounding good together, and it's like, you know what? Hold on to that. That sounds good.
Yeah. Kind of like maybe what Pepper and Ruthie. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. The thing is, I think some samples, as we said in the first episode, really do lend themselves to a song.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Hard Knock
Creative
Life.
edge then.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
that
yeah.
sample I would say is an ideal sample to use. So maybe it isn't always that it's just easier. Maybe it is an artistic decision that just happens.